Hello, hockey fans. My name is David. I thought I would start this video at 7:08 on the morning of Sunday, 22nd of October, North American Eastern Time. What I would do in this video is be a response one to Power Rankings, so-called Power Rankings one put out by Shatton the Hockey Guy. I'm going to present where the Canadian teams stand, because this channel, because on my channel, I want to really focus on the Canadian NHL teams. There are 7. And I'm really hoping that, as I do every season, that a non-Habs Canadian team will win a Stanley Cup. I respect the success the Habs have had in terms of Stanley Cup, in terms of cups, but I'm really hoping for a non-Habs team to do so. But again, it was a rough week for the Leafs, so I'm going to start with the power ranking. I'm going to go through using kind of like a world according to Briggs, YouTube, style of the world according to Briggs, YouTube man. In terms of Canadian teams, number 1, we have the Leafs. At 6th overall in the NHL power rankings, or in terms of the Hockey Guys power rankings. Yeah, it's been a rough week. And, certainly, the Leafs ended up losing 2 straight games and not scoring more than a goal, scoring only 1 goal in each of them. Yeah, it's been almost, 2 Novembers ago. Leafs got their, were on the wrong end of a shutout. Their last shutout loss, then, hard to believe. It's a big streak, perhaps the longest stretch streak in NHL of not being shut out. Came close. Oh boy, they came close to that against the Blackhawks and the Panthers, but found a way to score a goal in each of those. But it's been a rough week, and in that game against the Bolts, Matt and I ended up doing so. Matt and I got at least 1 point. Max Domi got a point. Some points from contribution. And from outside, the Matthews, Tavares, Marner, Nylander quartet. And those like to claim that it's time to lock up Nylander long term, and said, well, it depends for the cap hit. After all, the NHL is in a hard salary cap world. It's hard to know by how much the cap's going to go up. So, best thing to do if the Leafs cannot end up not being able to sign Nylander for an acceptable preseason cap hit, I would say like $7.5 million to $8 million US, then they should trade him. Get some defense, gold, defensive upgrades. I think it's a big one. And yeah, it's even also with Ilya Samsonov having allowed this many goals. All of them ugly ones. That's for anything worse. Is it any surprise that Sheldon Keefe pulled Samsonov in that game? No. I would have done the same thing. Like, you can't allow ugly goals. 3-1 by the end of the first period. Leafs did come back, but it wasn't easy. And yeah, goaltending has been a big issue for the Leafs. And yeah, it's no surprise that they dropped in the power rankings. But also, maybe because the other Canadian teams that haven't done so well, that they dropped to outside the top row. So yeah, Leafs number 1. I mean, I don't know how long it'll be. I mean, it's quite possibly the Leafs will end up with a road trip that ends up with 1 win and 4 regulation losses. And that will be a huge indication of where this Leaf team can win games on the road. So far, that hasn't happened. Well, we'll have to see, though. So, last week, there was a very interesting episode in my previous video from Sportsnet 590 The Fan from JD Bunkiss on his own podcast. Claimed that the Leafs front office had panicked after Ryan O'Reilly, a center, or one of the forwards, who the Leafs had acquired from the St. Louis Blues before last season's trade deadline, had decided to leave the team in unrestricted free agency, creating panic. There was panic, and James Myrtle of The Athletic having claimed that no other center had been available for what the Leafs had been looking, and thus re-signed David Kampf, modified no trade clause. I mean, whether the signing was a good one or not, we can always debate, but there's no debate. There was not going to be a debate. That offseason had been looking disastrous. 2 straight losses, 1 goal in each of those games. It was looking the same way after first period, 3-1 down. I watched over the Canucks game thinking, okay, this Leafs team doesn't have it at all. Maybe time to blow things up, or figuratively speaking, blow things up soon. Make bigger, bolder moves. Maybe that'll still happen because the Leafs end up dropping down, but we'll have to see what happens. Maybe this is a turning point, but it's too early to tell. So, number 2 in the power rankings among Canadian teams, we have the Ottawa Senators at 12th overall. It was a rough game. 5-2 in favor of the Wings. Undisciplined penalties. Very much copying what last season the Canucks often did, which was lose, allow at least 3 goals a game. And, well, we all know where those Canucks ended up. 12 points out. Have the Sens turn the corner? It had been looking good for 3 straight games at home. And then this one, a huge letdown. 5-2, yes, but yeah, too many penalties to count in that game. Like, was the officiating rough? Should have been called more evenly. We can all debate, but figuratively speaking, the Sens shot themselves in the foot. Because of their own doing. So I don't buy the claims. The referee was bad and that hurt the Sanders. Well, what hurt the Sanders is their own problem. The penalty killing was crap in that game. Go to the Game Over Ottawa, SCPN YouTube channel, the Locked On Senators podcast, part of the Locked On Sports Theater podcast, via the Locked On NHL series podcasts. Yeah, no surprise, co-hosts of Locked On Sens podcast were not happy very much. Game Over Ottawa, not happy either. Yeah, throw defense under the bus. Well, didn't do the Canucks very good that season. So then we go to the Canucks themselves. 3rd among Canadian teams and 13th among the power rankings, overall. Yeah, a rough week. Didn't look like the Canucks were going to beat a team out in the Oilers after having lost 2 straight games, a shutout loss to the Flyers, and a rough game in Western Florida, or at least Florida Gulf Coast, to the Tampa Bay Lightning, which I like to call the Bolts for short. It was Canucks, figuratively speaking, had gotten zapped. That happened almost to the Leafs, but the Canucks weren't so lucky, ended up losing 4-3 in regulation, and yeah, 2nd straight loss in regulation. Like the Leafs, Canucks have after last preseason, have a 3-2-0-0 win, regulation loss, overtime loss, shootout loss record. So overall, 6 points in 4 games, so 60 point percentage of 60.0. Not the best, but could be a lot worse. So we'll get to those in a moment. So now I'm going to go to who the Hockey Eye claimed had deserved to be ranked 19th in the NHL power rankings and 4th among Canadian teams, the Winnipeg Jets. As of now, Jets are to have 2-3-0-0 record, a huge overtime win over the Oilers. And it didn't look good at first. They came out flat in the first period. Hellebuck allowed a couple of ugly goals. It didn't look good. But he stood on his head and helped his team with a huge win. I'm not sure if the Peg City Hockey YouTube man has put out a video, but he has. I thank him. I definitely look forward to watching his video if I can find it on that game. It was a big win for the Jets. Jets team that had been desperate for points, having had a 1-3-0-0 record going into that game, and 2-3-0-0 was not great, but it could be worse. I'll get to the Oilers a little bit later. Calgary Flames, yeah, the hockey guy claimed had deserved to be ranked 20th among NHL teams and 5th among Canadian ones. It was a rough week. It's been, there was a shootout loss to the Capitals and a regulation loss to the Blue Jackets, 3-1. Rasmus Anderson elbowed the head of Patrick Laine, a Blue Jackets winger. Yeah, with basically been just seconds ago in regulation, and things had not been looking good. I mean, it was hard to notice in the video, all circulating all over the internet now, that there had been so little time left. That Anderson, the defenseman for the Flames, had been ejected because there had been so little time left in that game. Yet, There's no doubt the NHL player safety department threw the book at Anderson. I mean, if as a consequence any appeal does not reduce the number of games he's suspended, it won't. I don't think it'll increase the number of games he's going to be suspended either. He'll have to miss the Heritage Classic between the Oilers and Flames. Well, if that happens, so be it. It was a dirty hit. I call it a tweet in French. Vicious, dangerous, and unnecessary. I'm not sure if there's been any other, commentary on Twitter. TSN puts a video up, about that hit, but I'm just going to put it out there: vicious, dangerous, and unnecessary. Which is how I'm gonna just I'll meet you later. I'll show or I'll put it in there. I'll post that link, that Twitter link, as soon as I can. And the Flames, rough week, a rough game in Columbus against the Blue Jackets. I mean, good news for Flames fans that their favorite team won't have to go to Columbus again until next season, unless two teams face each other in a Stanley Cup final. Well, good luck with that. Blue Jackets are not likely to. Blue Jackets haven't had a lot of playoff success, so right there, probably not likely to be Flames and Blue Jackets in the Stanley Cup final. So therefore, probably not going to be going to Columbus until next regular season. So now I'm going to go to the team that the Hockey Eye ranked 21st among NHL teams and second last among Canadian teams. We have the Oilers. Yes. So watched a couple in-game streams. Dolny TV, Tyson Dolny, the man behind that YouTube channel, and the Oilers Fanatic YouTube man, who I believe the first name of that person is Patrick. Watched both streams, and no surprise, the Oilers, for Oilers fans, it was a huge letdown. Overtime loss, and it was Mark Scheifele, scored the goal 12 seconds quicker in 12 seconds quicker in overtime than John Tavares did for the Leafs in that win over on the Florida's Gulf Coast. Yeah. What a letdown after a 2-0 lead. It's hard to name. The Oilers have a 1-3-1-0 win, regulation loss, overtime loss, shootout loss record. So, not great. And it'll be interesting to find out what happens. It may very well be time to, figuratively speaking, blow things up. It could be the Oilers are returning to at least for the first time in the 2020s, it may possibly be that the Leafs or Oilers, but not both, will see playoff action. Do I see the Leafs as a playoff team? Well, I predicted that the Oilers and Leafs would each finish the season in top 3 divisional spots. Maybe I was wrong on both. I remain skeptical. But again, the Leafs seem to be, they did go in the right direction. Whether they can sustain that momentum, we'll have to see. But the Oilers definitely have some question marks. And in terms of also over-reliance on McDavid and Draisaitl to pull them through. Again, to be fair, John Klingberg, defenseman, got a point in that overtime win. So there's a little bit of hope there. I'm hoping that my hometown Leafs, will get through and that they will put together some wins and make the road trip far from the disastrous one that I feared might end up happening and cost longtime head coach Sheldon Keefe his job. But again, it's still early going, so let's see what the Oilers do and how this week goes, because this may be that that there's just some jitters and all that. So let's see what happens. So yeah, so definitely watch game over Edmonton and all that. I hope Connor McDavid is okay. He I think he got injured or so I'm not sure. But again, a loss of McDavid will be huge. I believe it will be huge for the Oilers. There was a period of time last season when the Leafs had to do without services of Austin Matthews when he was on short to medium term injury reserve. They couldn't put him on long term. But again, it's been it was a rough go, but could be Leafs could easily be where the Oilers are, near the bottom of the standings in the Western Conference, and quite possibly being a lottery team. But we'll see what happens. Eventually going to find out. Definitely looking forward to watching games, but I'll have to see what happens. But that'll be really telling. So now to go to the Habs, who the Hockey Guy ranked dead last among Canadian teams and 7th overall. Is that too low? That'll be interesting to find out. After all, the Habs have only lost one game in regulation in 4, have a 2-1-0-1 record. So basically, they have 5 points in 4 games, but they have won half their games. So let's see what happens. But they have played the fewest games among Canadian teams. I haven't watched. Had not watched by the time I chosen to record this video all the power rankings. Leafs end up with 6th among overall NHL teams and 1st among Canadian teams. That's not a ringing endorsement by any stretch of the imagination. Yes, it's possible the Leafs will end up in a top 3 divisional spot, and the Sens will drop out. But that will depend on how the Leafs do. I mean, it'll depend on how their offseason goes. But there's no doubt in the world that the first, second week of games of the regular season was rough. And it'll be interesting to find out what happens. I mean, certainly the Leafs, score the game-opening goal, and that's progress. Also progress, they end up winning. They end up winning on the road. Can they keep it up? That's still to be determined. How many other Canadian teams will do so? Well, we'll have to see. Because, yes, the Canucks are in a top 3 divisional spot, but I'm still not convinced really that, is there going to be any Canadian team in the Stanley Cup playoffs? There'll probably be at least one. But again, it's hard to know. We could very well see 1 or 2 Eastern Canadian teams in the postseason, but no Western Canadian team. Last time, no Canadian team and no Canadian NHL team made Stanley Cup playoffs was during the 2015-16 season. This season could be the first to see no Western Canadian team see playoff action. After the 2015-16 season that saw no Eastern Canadian team see playoff action either. But see what I can do, see what will happen. Anyway, I end this video. So if you like this video, please make sure to click the like button. If you want to subscribe to my channel, please feel free to do so. I do try to put out videos at least every other week. If you click the notification bell, you get more timely notification of videos that I put out. I try to put out videos at least every other week. On that note, I'm going to say, go Leafs go Raptors go Toronto FC go, and go Canada go.